5 minutes.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. After reading through some of the testimony, I believe that we may hear some claims this morning in our next panel about the News Source Review program. And I've been through this with the committee before, but there's lots of stories like the ones out of my district where people are not pursuing improvements because they're afraid of tripping over the News Source Review program and then having to spend a whole lot more money, so they don't do anything. And that's caused a lot of, I think, a lot of upgrades not to be done, and some of which would have improved the environment. Now, we know the Americans are paying more than necessary because of this and other things to improve air quality due to the overlapping air programs. About 13 programs overlap with the NSR, News Source Review, and I have legislation to fix all that, but it's not likely to come up in the next couple of years, even though I think it's great. Common sense reforms that will benefit the environment. Ms. Bodine, would you like to speak to the NSR program? Because you all are doing some things administratively similar to what my bill would do. And just tell us what you're doing on that and how that relates to other programs that you all are working on.
So thank you, Congressman. The NSR program is run out of the Air Office, and so they would establish the policies and the regulations. We obviously enforce. But I do want to mention that we have there for a number of years there has been a national compliance initiative that deals with News Source Review. That under that as a result, and today, and I think that's already been mentioned perhaps by Congressman McKinley, that sulfur dioxide is down 90% in the power sector. Nitrogen oxide is down by 85% in the power sector since 1997. And so when we look at where we should be focusing and where we have the opportunity to help communities and to get help non-compliance, we're looking at other areas. And I would like to mention the fact that we're doing a lot of work on mobile sources now. Mm-hmm. Obviously that was the VW case, it was the Fiat Chrysler case, but we also are dealing with it in terms of defeat devices and the aftermarket and the catalytic converters. I know that we got a letter from Congressman Guthrie, Congressman Kinley, and two of your colleagues about the catalytic converters, and we are changing our tampering policy. We expect to roll that out pretty shortly. And the estimate that I've been given is that the state of California expects that by changing our policy and encouraging more better performing catalytic converters, we can get as ready as 85,000 tons per year of NOx nationwide, again, which is going to help with ozone non-attainment. It's NOx. It could help with the deposition of nitrogen.
And that wouldn't necessarily show up in these stats that have been thrown around this morning, because you're dealing with sometimes individuals who are doing things they're not supposed to do, as opposed to companies.
You're right. Changing our tampering policy will not show up, and to get these kinds of reductions will not show up in our results.
And you've been working with the states a lot to make sure that they do, because the states do a lot of the enforcement. Isn't that correct?
Yes, that's true.
And isn't your goal to move this to the states? Can you give us some idea of how you've been doing things with the states and what inefficient duplications you've seen with the state programs?
So a couple of the members here mentioned the ECOS working group. Mm-hmm. So we did hear at the very beginning when
For the folks back home, that would be the Environmental Council of the States.
Thank you. I apologize for that.
That's all right.
And who represent the state commissioners, and they were complaining that EPA would show up in their state without even telling them, taking either an inspection or enforcement action without even telling them, and it could even at a facility the state perhaps had just inspected. And so what we've said to the regions is, look, you need to be working in partnership with states. You need to do work planning together. Everyone has finite resources. You need to divide up the universe. We absolutely need a compliance assurance presence. We need inspections, but we should be working collaboratively so that if the state is doing it, we don't need to be doing it, because that would be wasteful.
Right.
If the state needs to get training and capacity building, then we should be going out with them and providing that training.
And you all are obviously monitoring what the states are doing so that you can make sure that somebody's covering it. Isn't that correct? Yes or no? I'm running out of time. Yes or no? All right. And since you've been there, have you all intervened in any states where they aren't doing what they're supposed to do and haven't done the inspections properly or something?
So we have two examples where we've leaned heavily on states to take action, and they have. So yes, we do have examples of that. But then at the end of the day, the state finally did take the action, and we didn't have to. And all that work doesn't show up in our results either.
In your data. Okay, I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Chair now recognizes